Hi guys, there are no-brainers and then there are no-brainers. This one falls into the latter category. If you own a Fuji film mirrorless X mount camera, one of the first lenses, if not the first lens, that I think you should purchase is the Sigma 16mm f1.4. They make it for the Leica L mount, they make it for the Canon M mount, they make it for the Sony E mount, and also Micro Four Thirds, and now Fuji has joined the party. This lens is the best value lens on the planet for any system, period. Let's talk about it. Look at that magical bokeh.
So now we're back in the comfort of glorious, handsome studios because this is how I like to use the lens the most. Here is one for the Sony E-mount. I have it for my Sony APS-C cameras. I also have it for my GH5, my Micro Four Thirds cameras. I have a variation for that because in the studio, I think this is such a great lens. On the APS-C camera, it gives you about a 24mm field of view in terms of full frame equivalence, and also gives you a depth of field of about a 2.1. So you still get a nice background separation, and it still gives you a 1.4 of light. The light doesn't change, and right now you can get all of this for $374 on B&H as of October 29th, 2022. And speaking of B&H, those kind folks lent me the camera and lens that you are looking at right now. No strings attached. They just, I work with them and they say, I work with them. I just say, can I borrow a camera? And they say, sure, because they support content creators. And so X-S10 from Fujifilm and the Sigma 16mm f1.4 courtesy of B&H Photo. Shop there, especially if you're in the United States. They are great people with great customer service. They didn't even tell me to say that. I sound like a commercial. Great customer service over at B&H. Listen, let's get back to the lens. This is just, I requested this lens specifically because this is the lens that I would buy first for the Fujifilm, because I do a lot of this, a lot of the talking heads. I also shoot interviews, documentaries, things like that for comedians. I'm a comedian in my real life, if you haven't seen me before, or if you can't tell by just how hilarious I am in general. And I love the 16mm on the APS-C crop bodies. It is just right for me. And I tell you what, it renders photos. Let's get the photo stuff out of the way because I am not a professional photographer. I know I look like one, but I am not a professional photographer, but I do love the photos that come out of this. It's great for street photography. The colors render beautifully. It has great control of chromatic aberration. It has great control of longitudinal chromatic aberration. The Loca, it controls flare and ghosting very well. If you are backlit in a backlit situation, you're still going to have nice contrast on your subject. It is just, the focus is instant and it is completely reliable. It is dead silent. It is so great in low light because of that 1.4 aperture, that wide aperture. This lens is just a steal, the bargain of the century. This is going to be less of a review and more of just a gush about this lens because I love it. It is my favorite lens for all of the systems. And now, if you have a Fujifilm 16mm f1.4, then you can skip it. But if you don't have it, then this lens, just get this lens. Just stop the video right now. We'll pause it, for the algorithm. Don't just leave the video. Go through my affiliate links, of course, to make me stinking rich, and order this lens. Do yourself a favor. Get yourself that bokeh on a budget, but not just the bokeh. Optically, this thing is fantastic. It competes on my Sony. It competes with my G Master lenses. It is just such a great value. Love it. Now for Fuji specifically, I think it's extra important to get this 16mm, or at least some 16mm, if you want to do what I do, which is walk around vlogging your dumb face. If you want to go out and about and handhold the camera, then I wouldn't go wider than the 16mm on the Fuji with the IBIS, especially here, this X-S10. There's a Viltrox 13mm lens that I like a lot, but it's too wide in terms of, you can see the IBIS wobbling in the corners. It's very distracting. But on the 16mm, you don't see that as much. There's still some corner wobble, but it is definitely manageable. You walk nice and carefully. It has the in-body image stabilization in there, as well as the digital stabilization. You apply that and you can use your Fujifilm as a walking vlogging camera, at least the X-S10. You might want to extend the selfie stick out just a little bit to get an extra field of view, but that's another reason why this lens is so great. It's great for talking headshots, interviews, stationary shots, vlogging, street photography, a bit of landscape photography, and all for $370. Did I say that already? $374 over at the B&H. Good folks over at B&H. So of course nothing is perfect in life except maybe my eyebrows. I don't even pluck these. I just wake up like this. So let's talk about the drawbacks of this lens. There's no optical stabilization. So there's no stabilization in the lens itself. It's always a nice benefit to have that. It doesn't have any buttons or dials or aperture ring, and that is very useful, especially on Fujifilm. A lot of people like to use the aperture ring to control their camera on the lens itself. This one doesn't have it. It just has one big focus ring. So it would be nice if it had an autofocus and manual focus switch and also the aperture. That'd be nice, that aperture ring, but it doesn't have it. Again, $374. It has some weather sealing, but it's not a great deal of weather sealing. And lastly, it is not the lightest, smallest lens in the world. It's really not too bad for what you get. A 1.4 aperture with 16 millimeters is not too bad, but as Sony is proving, you certainly can get smaller. But that is it. End of negativity. I absolutely love when I get a chance to review this lens for any of the systems, because I get to say the same thing every time, which is this is the best value you are going to find in the camera world. If you don't have this focal length and you're looking at this focal length, simply buy this lens. You will not be disappointed. It is fantastic and I love it very much. Once again, thanks to B&H Photo for sending out the Fuji X-S10 and the Sigma 16mm so that I could talk about it. I could gush about it to you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye-bye.